His smell struck before he ever spoke. In the village of Okuta, where the drums told stories and the river whispered secrets, there lived a man whose scent could silence a crowd. His name was Adeyemi. Strong, gifted, and kind. Yet no one dared stand too close. His odor clung to the air like a curse, chasing away friends, customers, even children. And yet, beneath that unbearable stench was a truth no one could see, one that would change the village forever. Adeyemi was the village's best leatherworker. His hands could turn animal hide into sandals fit for kings and hunters alike. He never lacked customers. People came from faraway towns like Ilorin, Abeokuta, and Ogbomosho to buy his wares, but none ever stayed long. The moment they approached his stall, their nostrils would twitch, their faces would twist, and they'd begin to inch backward. The smell was unlike anything natural. It was pungent, raw, and unforgiving. Even the village dogs gave him a wide berth. Still, Adeyemi was oblivious. He bathed daily in the Ogun River, used traditional black soap, and rubbed his body with shea butter and camwood. In his mind, he was clean. He couldn't understand the strange reactions. Whenever someone hinted at the problem, he would laugh it off. "Maybe your nose is cursed," he'd joke. "Or maybe you're just jealous I smell like a real man." But the whispers grew louder. At markets, women pretended to sneeze and moved their stalls. Drummers stopped mid-rhythm when he came too close. Even the village priest, Baba Kolade, once paused a naming ceremony when Adeyemi arrived. Then came the fateful day of the Osun festival, when all of Okuta gathered to celebrate the goddess of purity and water. Adeyemi, proud in his new agbada, stepped into the crowd. Almost instantly, the joyous dancing stopped. The talking drums faltered, and then Iyabo, the daughter of the village elder and the belle of Okuta, fainted. Panic spread. What happened? Is it a curse? Was she poisoned? But as people moved away, the air cleared, and someone whispered, "It's Adeyemi." His smell struck her down. The shame was immediate. Elder Adebayo, Iyabo's father, stood and, with great sorrow, addressed the crowd. "Adeyemi, you are like the Iroko tree, strong and towering, but your scent has become a storm in our peace. We can no longer ignore it. You must seek the reason." Adeyemi's pride shattered. He left the festival in silence, the whispers of children and the pity of elders following him like shadows. That night, Adeyemi sat alone by the Ogun River, tears falling into the current. For the first time in years, he felt something deeper than shame. He felt lost. Then, out of the moonlight mist, came a bent old woman. Her skin was like weathered bark, and her eyes shimmered with secrets. "You bathe every day, yet your smell lingers. That is not the smell of sweat. It is the smell of burden." Adeyemi stared at her. "What do you mean, Mama?" She handed him a small clay pot and whispered, "When the smell in your soul is stronger than the soap on your skin, no river can cleanse you. Go home, open your heart, face what you carry." Before he could speak, she was gone. Adeyemi walked home, clutching the clay pot. That night, he dreamt of his childhood. A stormy night when his mother died in childbirth and his father abandoned him, blaming him for the death. Raised by a cruel uncle, he endured pain, hunger, and humiliation. He had buried the memories deep, covering them with work and laughter. Could this be the true source of his smell? When he awoke, the clay pot was still in his hands. Inside were ashes, bitter cola, and a scroll that read, "The nose can't lie. What you refuse to feel, the body will reveal." And so Adeyemi made a vow to begin the journey inward. In Okuta, word spread that Adeyemi had vanished. Some said he'd gone mad, others that he'd been taken by river spirits. But few knew that he had begun a journey, not across land, but into himself. For 7 days and 7 nights, Adeyemi stayed by the river, eating only roasted plantain and palm nuts. He meditated, chanted ancient Yoruba prayers, and spoke his pain aloud to the trees and stones. He remembered every insult from his uncle, every slap, every time he was made to sleep outside like a goat. He remembered the deep hatred he nursed for his father, who had remarried and never looked back. He cried until his chest hurt. He shouted until his voice broke. And then, on the 7th night, he took the clay pot and poured its contents into the river. As the ashes and cola drifted away, he whispered, "I forgive you. I release it all." At that moment, the wind shifted. The forest fell silent. Even the crickets paused, and Adeyemi, for the first time, felt light. When he returned to Okuta, people prepared for the worst, but something was different. Children ran to greet him. Women no longer covered their noses. The dogs wagged their tails. Even Elder Adebayo approached and clasped his hand. Iyabo, fully recovered, smiled at him shyly. Baba Kolade, the priest, stepped forward and said, "The spirits told me, a man who can cleanse his soul is more fragrant than the richest perfume. Adeyemi, your scent has changed." That day, Adeyemi reopened his stall, but he also became something else, a guide. Young men came to speak with him, to ask how they too could confront their own shadows. He began hosting evening gatherings beneath the Iroko tree, where villagers would share stories, cry, laugh, and heal. And always by his side sat the old clay pot, empty now, but filled with memory. And so the people of Okuta learned something they would never forget. Soap can clean the skin, but truth washes the soul. Adeyemi's name was no longer whispered with pity, but spoken with honor. He became known not as Adeyemi the Windwalker, but Adeyemi the Fragrant Heart. And every year, during the Osun festival, the drums beat a new rhythm, not of shame, but of rebirth. What burdens do we carry that cannot be washed away with water? Let us know what this story meant to you in the comments. And if you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more original African stories, only here on Enchanted African Realms. Until next time, may your heart stay light and your spirit ever fragrant.